As Nigeria joins the rest of African countries in celebrating the Day of the African Child, there is need for a safe and accessible digital environment for children to learn and grow up healthy. Today, unlike before, digital technologies play a critical role in boosting quality of education. Therefore, children should also be safe while learning online. The Day of the African Child is celebrated in memory of the 1976 student uprising in protest against the poor quality of education they received and demanded to be taught in their languages. There is a strong belief that stakeholders must prioritize the rights of children in the digital space while fostering a technological environment for growth and development through implementation of policies for their safety and protection. The theme for the Day of the African Child 2023, the rights of the child in the digital environment, reminds everyone to play a role in holding governments and relevant agencies accountable to progress being made in adopting policies to protect children, as well as reflecting on what more needs to be done to effectively promote the right of the child. In Nigeria, for instance, the digital environment has grown significantly in recent years, exposing children to a range of activities for their consumption, and it has become an integral part of their lives. Technology, no doubt, has made things easy, and nobody is exempted from using these innovations. Children also have rights in the digital space, rights to e-learning, rights to be safeguarded while using the internet, and rights to useful information. The truth is that every child deserves a future, even in times of crisis. How then can we ensure that the future of every child is secure? How can we work with partners to help governments identify and scale up innovations to ensure that children survive, learn, and are protected while using the internet? Well, our guest shall be providing answers to these questions and others in a moment. This is Nigeria Today. I am your carrier, Clinton. Welcome. Joining me in the studio to discuss this is the founder of Helpline Foundation, Jumai Ahmadu. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Ikeria. Nice to be with you.
And also the president, Silver Lining for the Needy Initiative, Hawa Abbas Hadija.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I'll just start from the basics. Why is it necessary, Hawa, to celebrate the African child? And what is this thing about this day and digital, the children of this day and digital technology?
Okay, thank you very much again for having me. First of all, the child is a human being. And so just like the child and the adult, we need to respect their rights. Human rights is important and vital for everybody. And we need to look at the holistic way. We need to look at it in a holistic way so that we can maximize the benefits for children and also minimize risk as well when we come to talk about digital exposure. Access is important, and we know that we are having challenges just with basic education, talk less of access to digital world, you know. It's important because we need to be able to catch up with the world. The world has gone far beyond what people are speaking about. Even adults in Africa are also right behind. So I believe that if we do start helping the children, and they are able to help their households as well.
So, Jumai, she's talked about the digital world. Now, to what extent has the digital environment influenced the African child?
Thank you very much. It has influenced them significantly, but we are not where we ought to be yet because of accessibility, like she said. If you think back recently when the COVID-19 struck, a lot of children were not able to study because of the online learning that came, and that deprived them, and they had some setback. So the major issue we're having is accessibility. Digitalization is very good. For it to be controlled, for our children not to be exposed to certain things that we will not want them to be exposed to, is also very important for us to look at it very well. So where attention needs to be focused on now, because the world is a global village, everybody is going digital now. Nobody thought that we could do things online before COVID-19. Now you could even study online and your certificate online. But the issue that the African children are facing is access to this basic technology that we are talking about. In some remote villages in Africa, they don't even have network. They don't have electricity. So how can the children in these remote villages have access to what we are talking about for them to do things digitally? It is difficult. Some of them don't even know what it is what computer is as we speak this very moment. So a lot of effort has to be put in place by both government, partners, and serious advocacy has to be done. And deliberate policy has to also be put in place by government to ensure that all the necessary infrastructures are in place for our children to have access. And we also have to control what they are exposed to. We have witnessing so many things are happening globally now. It's one thing for us to have them accessing this technology, but how are we going to control how they use and make proper use of these technologies?
Okay, Jumai, Hawa had mentioned for those that do not have access, we're talking about how the accessibility, however, there are some that have access to this. So, and you see that they are oftentimes exposed to certain, materials that they are not supposed to be exposed to. Now, how important is it for the protection right of the child to be to be activated? When I'm talking about the digital environment, how is it important for these, protection rights to be activated in the country?
As we all know, with everything good, there must be bad. And so with the digital world, it is important for us to minimize the risk that the children will be able to face online. There's so many risks, exposure. And it does start with the home before you get to the school and before you get to the community. So let's start with the home. More parents need to pay attention to what their children have access to. And those are for the children who actually have access. They need to pay attention to what they have access to. There are lots of software now that restrict where children can go online. And so more parents need themselves to educate themselves and be more digitally aware. If they're not aware, then they're not able to put the blocks that are needed so that their children, depending on the age group, don't have access to certain platforms online. So that's the first thing. The second thing I will talk about is the school, the learning environment, whichever learning environment a child is in. The school itself has a responsibility to ensure that they also understand how to access and block certain platforms for certain age group of children. And then we go to the community. Every time I speak up at the community, I always ensure I start with the traditional leaders, because they are the leaders of the community, and everything they say is basically followed to the teeth. The traditional leaders need to start educating the parents, because that's where we're going to, it goes back to the home. When we have the traditional leaders getting involved in this, like Auntie Jumai said, you have to get involved with partners, governments, everybody, all stakeholders are involved. And the traditional leaders do have a role to play. They need to start letting the parents know how important their own responsibility is, because parents just a lot of parents themselves, like I said, don't have the access or understanding of the digital like a platform. They don't even know how to use it themselves. Most of the time you find that children are the ones teaching their parents how to access certain platforms. So we need them to be able to access and basically we need to train religious leaders, we need to train community leaders, we need to train who therefore would probably step it down to parents, and that is the start of minimizing risk.
Now Jumai, she talked about trying to put a kind of stop to some kind of materials the children have access to, the apps. But is it appropriate for the children, for the will I say the parents, to ban the children from accessing digital say accessing the online material? Is it appropriate
to completely ban them? It is not appropriate, because if you ban them completely,
I was even trying to say, is it even possible?
It's not possible
in this present
it's not
time.
possible, because even if it's better you allow them have access, they have absolute or maybe have control on what they access, which is what will bring me to the issue of government also, if possible, enacting a regulation that will enable people to enforce the law when some parent can be careless. We have some parents who don't even care if their children go to school or not. So if your child is found to be on a particular side that she's not supposed to be, or maybe something happened, we've seen children going on sites that teach them how to actually commit suicide, recruiting them to so many forms of activities that is unimaginable, because our children these days, they are very, very intelligent. You have a 5-year-old child that will know how to lock her phone. So like Hawa said, parents should also have uninhibited access to their children's devices, because this is what I would like you to notice, their mode of learning. They give them Google Classroom assignment, they come home, you just prepare them for the assignment. You might have 1 or 2 things to do in the house. When you take your eyes away, you don't know where they will go to. So that absolute control is very important. We cannot, it's not possible for us to deprive them, but it is possible for us to have unlimited access to what they do. If your child is supposed to study online, ensure that where that child is where the child is supposed to be. I'm also happy that schools these days are sending parents newsletters regularly on the steps to follow to ensure that you restrict where your children go to, because it's affecting them also. Our children, because of technology, are being exposed to, like I said, doing so many things that they are not supposed to do online. Where they are not supposed to go because of the age limit, you see them there, because some parents don't even know how to open their children's devices. So first of all, at home, ensure that you know what they are doing. Then when you get to the school, like Hawa said, school also should monitor what they do, because if you control at home and the school does not have a mechanism in place to monitor what they do, to be a problem.
But funny enough, you talked about parents trying to, monitor, having unlimited access to their children's devices.
Yes.
Now, sometimes when you're talking about that, I was kind of laughing, because some parents don't have a clue how to access. In fact, even their own phones, they just used to make calls. Some don't even know how to access the WhatsApp and the rest of them. So how do you access what
you could? Because even if the parent is illiterate, there should be somebody.
No, some educated parents. I'm not talking about illiterate.
What you can do is to first of all, you're giving them that phone, put all those measures in place, parental control. Exactly. If you can't do it, the person that you're purchasing these devices from, tell the person, I have a child that is under 18 in my house, and this is the places I want that child to go.
So why even buy a phone for a child that's under 18?
It's not a phone. Now they have Google Class. They have Google Class that they use tablets. Schools are even making it compulsory for parents to have these things to enable their children learn fast. Whether we like it or not, the world is moving so fast, and the earlier we move along with the trend, but in a very controlled manner, the better for us. Otherwise, we wake up one day and realize that we are far behind. So we have to do it, but in a very controlled manner. We even have people who are even developing some devices now, because they don't want their children to be exposed to this unlimited access. So everything about their classroom is on a particular device. So that limits also what they see online, because they're also scared that very soon the kind of data that we are giving out, it could make us become some form of, they'll be controlling us or something without us knowing. Our data are going out so much. Recently, I saw one little clip online where somebody just tried to buy something from Pizza Hut. It was Google that was not telling him his entire life story. Your passport has expired, like that. So we are going so fast that we have to also run as fast as the world is going, but in a controlled manner. Otherwise, we'll have problem.
They watch what there is controlled.
Culturally, we are not even accepted in our own climb as Africans. But we need to put measures, and these measures also come from government. If African leaders will come together and say, this is what we want, like the Chinese have done, there is a limit to what you can go online and see in China. That can also help us in Africa. Okay,
Jumai, we'll come back to that. But right now, let's go on a short break. Please don't go away. We'll be right back.
The implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow, under digital economy, for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different? We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that our questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today. Welcome back. It is still Nigeria Today, and my guests are still with me, two ladies here to talk to us about the African child and digital environment. And now, Hawa, I know as much as we're talking about the African child, the awareness is not, there's little or no awareness down here. Much has not really been, been heard of about it. Now, on a day like this, what would you want the government policy makers to, to do in order to make, what role should they play in order to create more awareness, and of course also key into this, the theme, just like we're talking about the digital awareness. You rightly said that a lot of children do not have access to the digital environment, as much as we say the world is going very fast.
Yes.
So what would be the role of this?
I mean, the government and other stakeholders, partners have an enormous task ahead of them for us to get to the point where we need to be. We're lagging behind, as she rightly said, when it comes to the digital space. First of all, they need to go back to the drawing board. We have a lot of policies in Nigeria that have not been implemented. So I don't even want to say that we need to create policies, because we already have a lot of great policies on paper but have not been implemented. So that's the first thing. We have a new government, and this is the best time for them to go back, sit down amongst themselves, different stakeholders in the room, ensure we have, like I said, traditional leaders, religious leaders, heads of school boards, all stakeholders need to come together, sit down, and review the existing policies that we have and begin to decide which ones we need to implement. Obviously, budget allocation is extremely important because access in schools, like she rightly said, during COVID, the biggest challenge in Africa was that everybody across the world had gone virtual when it comes to education in schools. But we had a challenge with that because a lot of schools do not have that access. In fact, a lot of teachers do not have that access. A lot of teachers don't even know how to use the computer system. So we also need to work on our teachers as well. In order for our children to be computer literate, those who are teaching them need to start being computer literate.
And the literacy will start from the teachers, of course. You can't give what you don't have.
Exactly, you can't give what you don't have.
You know how, Jumai, we've earlier, I know we talked about so much about the rights, which of course is the theme of the African Child Day. Now, what are some of the, just itemize and raise some of the rights of the child, because a lot of parents don't even know that the children have rights. Yes. As far as digital technology or digital environment is concerned, there are rights. So enumerate these rights for us, and kind of throw more rights on the
African child is also the same thing as human rights. It's just that when it comes to the rights of the child, we pay more attention to their basic needs. What are these basic needs? Education, right to health care, right to all the social services that they require, right to grow up in a conducive home. They have the right to also express themselves. But in expressing themselves, they should express themselves respectfully in the African way.
I like that.
Not when your child will challenge you because he or she said he has a right. That is not it. So when these basic rights are met, our children will have safe space to operate. And like I said earlier, government also have to do a lot in terms of educational funding, which is what, like she said, a lot of policies are on ground. Just for us to dust them back and ensure that the areas that concern the child are paid better attention, because they are our future, whether we like it or not. If we don't groom them well and give them everything that they require to grow in a safe environment, we are going to have problems.
Now, earlier she also mentioned those that do not have of course, some of our, I always mention the villages, some of the villages. So what should the government or stakeholders, or you're talking about agencies and all of that, what should they do to ensure that these children have access to the digital world?
Take the one. Like I said, if all hands must be on deck. We have development partners. There is nowhere in the world that government alone do make all this provision available for its citizens. But if advocacies are intensified, private organizations can come to school and donate computers for them as their corporate social responsibility. Then the maintenance culture also have to be improved upon, because there is one thing for you to have these facilities and computer technology available. Like you said, the teachers also have to be trained. In villages, thankfully now we have the solar, and Nigeria is so blessed with a lot of sunshine. So the issue of power should not limit us from creating technology, ICT lab in all schools, from primary up to tertiary. So no matter how remote that village is in Nigeria or Africa, they have sunlight. It's for you to come up with a very good technology that this sun can be stored enough to power their computers or their tablets, for them to have access to basic information about what is happening in the world. So more funding from government part and more support for development from development partner for us to ensure that our children have everything that they need to operate in a safe space. Like I always emphasize, it's one thing for us to have these things available for them, but how safe are they being exposed to the usage? So that also have to be put in place, which is where government should also enact a law for our children to be protected. A lot of bullying are happening online, and it has huge consequences on our children's psychology and how they view themselves.
Now, Hawa, I know you run an NGO. So what is your NGO doing to also help the African child? This time, Nigerian child, because charity begins at home.
Yes, exactly.
So what is your NGO doing?
So the first thing I would say is that we have my NGO just actually celebrated its 14th year anniversary yesterday.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And so the first thing I would say is that I want to ensure that we encourage more parents to send out their children for internship. Internship, because that is where the children start learning. I have a story of a young boy who in 2015 started volunteering with us and actually insisted he wanted to do internship with us. He did internship with us and was getting a stipend every month. And after about 8 months, he came to me and he said, Mama, I want to show you something. And he brought out a laptop. He, unknowing to me, had been saving money from his stipend and bought a second-hand laptop because he learned how to type and use a computer in our office while he was interning. And he bought his own laptop. Now he's in 400 levels in university. And when he entered university, he called me to tell me that he was doing business, side business, typing people's assignments and doing things from that skill he learned. Now, a lot of parents have young people in the house who are doing nothing. Send them out to go and volunteer so that they can begin to develop themselves. That's the first thing. So we've done that with a lot of young people. Another thing we've done also is ensure that we also take young people. Luckily, we just got a partnership with NIDA. NIDA just gave us computer systems where we're building a hub. So we're going to be training women and girls. And this came about from our recent, annually, every year, United Nations holds the...
How do you train them on?
Digital skills.
Okay.
Yes. So United Nations holds an annual meeting on the Commission of Status of Women, and this year the focus was on the digital world, and she was also present to them in New York, and that's what everybody is going for globally, the digital world. And so we are now going to be training more women and girls how to improve their digital skills, and also by improving their digital skills, they're improving their working opportunities as well. Okay, so
Jume, you just in 1 minute tell us what your NGO is doing and how they are also helping the Nigerian child.
Thank you very much. Just to align myself with what you said earlier, charity begins at home. And these days we have gone digital. So what we are doing to empower both the women, young people, is to ensure that they have these digital skills, because online you can make so much money online, provided you have the right products and you package them very well. So our focus also is to ensure that the people we are dealing with acquire digital skills to use them properly, to be able to better their lives.
Okay.
Thank you
very much. I know you still have a lot to say, but that will be next time. But that's it on Nigeria Today. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. I had the founder of Helpline Foundation, Jummai Amadu. Thank you so much for your time and contribution. And also the president, Silver Lining, for the Needy Initiative, Hawa Abbas Hadija.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. And to our viewer, thank you so much for always being a part of this. Remember, the program Nigeria Today airs weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am your carrier, Clinton, saying goodbye and have a lovely weekend.